Welcome to the Explosive Mechanics Podcast with Jared Binney. In today's episode, we're going to talk about velocity-based training and the mistakes that I see other coaches and athletes making by training this way. So first off, what is velocity-based training? Velocity-based training is a tool for coaches and strength and conditioning professionals. It uses bar speed, allowing a lifter to train exactly where he needs to for that specific lift on that particular day. It can help replace the use of a percentage-based system, allowing for maximum results, and helps coaches utilize a training method known as auto-regulation. Auto-regulation refers to volume management and is used to help individual differences in work capacity and allows these differences to be self-governed and applied. In other words, coaches allows the athletes to progress at their own rate. Every athlete, like I talk about in the podcast all the time, has their own adaptation rate. So they respond to things differently in the gym at different rates of speed. So this athlete may progress quicker than this athlete may progress slower than this other athlete. So you can kind of go three ways. You got an athlete that excels they have a high adaptation rate, so they can really excel at strength conditioning. You got someone that has a low adaptation rate, so they're kind of a little bit slower than the average person in the middle of this progress. So you got your average person, you got your high person, and you got your low person. And so the velocity-based training allows for those adaptations to be monitored on a daily basis and regulated or checked off the next time, so you're kind of watching their patterns. So it allows you to see an individual's patterns a little bit better than just a percentage-based system. But we're going to get into mistakes that I see with this so-called velocity-based training system. It should be used as a tool and in conjunction with heavy stuff. But before we get into that, I just want to read through some of these books right here so that we're all on the same page about what strength training is. All right, there are three methods of eliciting maximum muscular tensions. So number one is maximum effort method, overcoming a maximum and submaximal resistance that causes maximum or near maximum muscular tension. Number two is overcoming considerably less than maximum resistance that causes considerably less than maximum tension until fatigue forces the muscle tension to reach its limit. So that's the repeated effort method. So you're not allowing the muscular tension for your limitation, you're allowing the fatigue of the muscle over time, over certain reps, like 8 to 12. Once they fatigue in that manner, that's going to be called the repetition method, okay? And the third method is overcoming less than maximum tensions at maximum speed. So we got to understand that there's three methods out of this book here. And that was in Science of Sports Training. This comes from Managing the Training of Weightlifters. Methods of strength development for weightlifters. Maximum effort method is the basic method for developing absolute strength. Essentially, it consists of overcoming maximum resistance and lifting a limit weight. Limit muscular effort is displayed. This is a powerful and effective physiological irritant. So we're really demanding the nervous system. So these other books you got to have this book to help put more sentences together. The maximum effort method also educates one to appropriately mobilize a volatile effort and the skill to switch from maximum tension to relaxation. Maximum effort method increases strength without significantly increasing muscular mass. It's very important for weightlifting where an athlete is required to keep his body weight within certain weight classes or weight limits. Practical experience shows that training with weights of 90 to 100% of maximum results in the highest increases in strength. The second method for development of strength is the repetition method. See how this book kind of set different than the other book. It consists of repeatedly lifting a sub-maximum weight until fatigued. Although the lifts with sub-maximum weight and limit loads are distinguished from each other by physiological mechanism, the first is close to an effort to the second, according to the degree of muscular fatigue. All right, and the third method is, they call it in this thing, explosive strength, and some others call it speed strength. Explosive strength is a general qualitative characteristic adaptation to movements which require a display of neuromuscular tension in the shortest time possible. Explosive strength is developed under such conditions where a combination of strong tension and speed qualities are required. Specifically, the ability to displace force motive immediately after an intense muscular contraction. So stretching the weight or body real quick, then exploding with whatever implement is in hand. Okay. This other book starts to get into what the super training is. If a quick display of maximum absolute strength is required, then the brief maximum tension method is given priority in training, which is 85 to 95% of maximum, i.e. 3 to 5 reps, which we mainly follow at the gym. The brief maximum tension method is a sub-method of the maximum effort method. Maximum effort method is usually meaning 1 or 1 to 2 reps, where the brief maximum tension can be between 3 and 5 reps, and depending on what we're going for, as we get more advanced, the athletes can get more out of the maximum effort method. We may fail at 2 reps. You'll see a lot of people may get 2s on their folders. Some are getting 3s, some are getting 4s, and some are getting up to 5s. But regulating each, I auto-regulate each athlete every time that they come in, because I'm watching what they're doing this day. Day 2, day 3 is written off of day 1 and day 2. Day 4 is written off, so forth and so on. So each day, like even when I do my online people, so if I'm going to bench them 3 days a week, I can't write Wednesday's workout for them until I see how their rep pattern happened on Monday. Same thing with their squat. Some of my athletes are now getting velocity-based training devices so that we can regulate their squat based off their bar speeds. And so that's what I kind of do. Even with the kids at the gym, everybody's got their own folder. So the kids that have their folder in for today, today's Friday, today's gonna be mainly bench. Some people have to do a combo, some people are gonna squat, but today's mainly bench. I go to the gym earlier in the day so that I can, or sometimes I do it the night before I leave the gym. I'm writing everybody's folder based off how their last bench pattern looked. I may look at the last 2 or 3 bench patterns to write the next set of numbers, and that's the most important part. It's not about the workout, it's about the number patterning, so that I know where they are all the time. So if I'm trying to get a 10 to 15 pound increase on their bench per month, or 1 to 2 inches on the vertical jump per month, I can get that by not giving them a week worth of percentages. I'm giving them a week worth of patterns, and you're not seeing that pattern to the end of the week, because I can't write workout 2 unless I see 1. I can't write 3 unless I see what 1 and 2 look like, so forth and so on. So lifting limit and near limit weight improves the sportsman's mobilization ability and leads to an increase in special work capacity as expressed by the skills to develop a brief concentrated effort of large power. So that's your brief maximum tension. And it says the same thing over here in super training. The brief maximum tension method is giving priority in training 85 to 95% of 1 RM, 3 to 5 reps. Brief maximum tension develops the ability to concentrate neuromuscular effort, and it yields a larger training effect than the progressive resistance methods. So maximum effort, brief maximum tension, basically the same thing, and it's more effective than the progressive resistance method, repetition method. It increases strength without increasing muscle mass, which is important for sports that require the primary development of relative strength. Lifting maximum and near maximum loads enhances the ability to accelerate heavy loads and increase special work capacity as expressed by the skill to develop brief concentrated effort. So brief maximum tension is a skill, learning how to develop brief concentrated effort to get a task done. So like when our butts are coming off the bench at the gym, or we're flying up with our squats, we're like, I'm not so worried about technique. We're trying to figure out how to get that concentrated neuromuscular effort done to complete a task, because that's what's going to translate and travel over to our sports. So this book is called Science and Practice of Strength Training. And this also says, you got your maximum effort method, you got your sub-maximum method, or repeated. So sub-maximum is the same thing as repeated effort method. And you also have your dynamic effort method. And this book describes the dynamic effort method as such. This method of dynamic effort is used not for increasing maximum strength, but only to improve the rate of force development and explosive strength. So with the dynamic effort method, you're not increasing strength. It's just there to help increase your rate of force development. Once you've learned how to, once you get strength and that strength is no longer transferring over to that sport, you have to increase your rate of force development with that strength. And so again, this book says strength training can be accomplished in 3 ways. lifting a maximum load, lifting a non-maximal load, but significantly large load to fatigue within a certain number of reps. And the third one is lifting or throwing a non-maximum load at the highest attainable speed, as known as the dynamic effort method. And so, what I'm trying to say is, with the different methods, you're trying to fall within a different modality. And I like the dynamic effort method where it says lifting or throwing, and you can enhance all these things at one time. You don't have to do, like for our squatting, we're doing brief maximum tension squat, then we're going over to the other side of the strength spectrum. So if you need that concentrated your muscular effort to overcome a maximal load, like if you're fighting someone in football, or if you're trying to overcome your own inertia when you're starting in your 40-yard dash, or if you got to overcome your own body weight to jump higher, you need that brief maximum tension so you can learn how to explode and overcome that resistance, your body's resistance. And so as you get stronger, if you're not working on how quickly your body gains or develops that strength, you're not going to quite get what you need out of anything. And so again, here with the maximum effort, the maximum effort method is considered superior for both improving intramuscular and intramuscular coordination. This method should be used to bring forth the greatest strength increments. The maximum number of motor units is activated with optimal discharge frequency, and the biochemical parameters of movement and intermuscular coordination are similar to the values of a main sport exercise. So although the weight's moving extremely heavy, you got quite an explosive action happening within the muscle itself with the brief maximum tension method. And a lot of times people get strength confused, and they're just doing the repeated effort method and thinking they're getting stronger because now we're getting 6 to 8 reps. You're not paying attention to the Hennon and size principle, which means when you're doing the repeated effort method, you got your slow twitch fibers or your fatigue first, your intermediate fibers, then your fast twitch fibers. So your fast twitch fibers are getting called in when the other muscles are fatigued. So it's like boom, 1 down, 2 down, 3 down. So with that method, you're not learning how to concentrate that neuromuscular effort, get all the optimal discharge frequency with the inter and intramuscular coordination. So the body with the repeated effort method is not getting that special irritant like that other book said, to get everything to contract and fire at one time to get that job done. So with the maximum effort, brief maximum tension, your body's got to learn how to fire, boom, overcome it, and get the job done. The repeated effort method, the body just fatigues over time, and the dynamic effort method does not increase strength. It only enhances rate of force development. I forgot this other book over here, where it talks speed strength and other things is also mentioned in books. And that's when you're seeing speed strength, they're also trying to talk about the dynamic effort method. So speed strength is the dynamic effort method, and there are load percentages for that. And I had it earlier and I can't flip through it as fast as I wanted to. So I'm not going to bore y'all with that. So you have a certain percentage, almost like the brief maximum tension method, where you're 85+%, 90+% maximum effort method, where the speed strength method or the dynamic effort method, however you want to say it, you're around 20%. So you're on the total opposite side of the strength spectrum. And if you're not loading the speed strength or the dynamic effort with the right weight, you're not going to get that right quality developed as optimally as possible. It'd be like using the repeated effort method to increase your strength. Well, we just learned that greatest increments in strength come from the brief maximum tension method. And so if you're not loading that dynamic effort method or the speed strength method at the appropriate percentages, you're not going to get the best desired result out of that. And so that's a little history lesson on ways muscular tension is created. Now we got to figure out when to implement, what to implement, and how to implement these things. So now that we understand what strength is and how it's created, now we need to get into the mistakes I see with velocity-based training. And the number one mistake that I see is they're moving the weight too fast at the high schools that have them and at the colleges that have them. Like I had a kid that he plays a D1, and he said, Jared, we were having to hit 0.1 1.0 meters per second. Well, if you're hitting that weight that fast, that's too fast to create. It's too slow for the dynamic effort method because you still have to subconsciously, if you're squatting, slow the weight down. And he said they were almost jumping with the weight. And that's why Louis put bands on the bars back then, because they were trying to move the weight so fast that it was coming off the shoulders. And if it comes off your shoulders and lands on your neck rung, you can crack a vertebrae and have issues with that. And so for me at the gym, I'm not trying to create my dynamic effort method with speed squats or squatting like that. I'm creating my dynamic effort method with my loaded jumps. So we're doing dumbbell jumps as our dynamic effort method. And conjugate training is you're training your speed strength, you're training your repeated effort method, and you're training your dynamic effort method all at one time over a period of time. That's why you would hear Westside Louis back in the day, they was always ready to go to competition because they're always training those characteristics of strength. Traditional Western periodization, they would have a strength power phase, they would have an endurance phase, they would have these different phases to where by the time you went to your strength and power phase, you lose some of your endurance out of your endurance phase, and sometimes your maximum strength effort would be lost because you did the repeated effort too long. And so you're going from block to block, and you're not really trying to raise these special strengths all at the same time. So at the gym, with our brief maximum tension method, we're on this side of the strength spectrum where we're increasing the maximum amount of strength that we have with a high neuromuscular coordinated effort. And with it at the same day, we're going to go jump with a load with our speed strength percentages in order to increase our rate of force development. So we're increasing our rate of force development and our absolute strength in the same day. Then we'll use our accessories with the repeated effort method that allows us to build our squat so that we can continue to squat and continue to jump. And if we're improving our squat and we're improving our jump, we can improve our 40-yard dash without ever running during the middle of the month. So the mistakes again I see, number one, is these colleges are moving the bar too fast at 8 meters per second or 1.0 or 9. They said, if we fall below 1, we had to stop the weight. And I've had athletes say if we fall below 8, we had to stop the set. And so what these colleges and universities are doing is they're using the auto-regulatory. Once they fall below 8 meters per second, they have to stop their set. So if I was squatting 8.3, 8.1, 8.0, and then I hit a 7.7, I'd have to stop. And the problem with that is, if you're moving at 8 meters per second, you're probably only lifting about 65, maybe 70% of your max. And so with that 65, even 75% of your max, usually 80%, you can move probably about a 6.3 maybe. If you're getting 85%, you're around that 0.5 meters per second. So with that 0.5, you're at 85% above, and with that 0.8, you're probably about 70% of your max. So that's not enough weight to increase our brief maximum tension method. As it's only like a warm-up weight for a repeated effort method, because they can still continue to go, but they're being limited by the speed of the bar to where they're no longer supposed to continue to do reps with that weight after they fall below 8 meters per second, 0.8 meters per second. It's kind of ridiculous, and I think that's going to hinder a lot of these, because I had a kid came home during Christmas and at this D1 university, played football. He said, "Jerry, we worked our butts off and we didn't get any stronger." And I just I warned you before you went to college what was going to happen. You're not going to get any stronger. They're really trying to, at that level, they're not like me. I'm trying to help a kid get to college, or I'm trying to help a kid get to professional level. And at the college level, they're just trying to keep the kids healthy so that they can continue to perform the sport. If they were trying to push like I do and they get a kid hurt, they could get fired, and where the kid would just quit coming to the gym, or if they get hurt, we figure out how to get around that injury so we can continue to keep performing. And so the number one thing that these universities and these high schools are moving the bar too fast to create any significant gains in strength. And if they're using the bar at 8 meters per second, even 7 meters plus per 0.7 or faster, you're basically using the repetition method, but you're not allowing the repetition method, which is you train a muscle to failure within a certain 8 to 12 reps, kind of like a bodybuilding style, because it's not your strength that limits you, it's your muscle endurance within that certain rep range that limits you. And so we know the repeated effort method is not the greatest method for increasing absolute strength or overall strength in general. It's training the muscle on fatigue and trying to get more size. So you'd say that's more structural training, or more functional training is brief maximum tension and the dynamic effort or speed strength method. Okay. So number one, moving the bar too fast. Number two, they're treating velocity-based training as a program and not a tool. You need to have strength and power plan when you're using the velocity-based thing. So like for at the gym, I know that if a kid squats a 0.27, that's his last rep. If he squats a 0.50 first rep, I know he can get another one. If he squats a point, goes 5-0 to a 4-2 to a 3-5, 3-3, or a 3-1, if he has a 3-1 or she has a 3-1, over time they're learning, and in their head mentally they're probably thinking, hey, I can't get another rep. But if they sit at 0.31 and they know they usually can fail in the 2 range, they'll try and maybe they'll most likely get another rep out of them. And so whether we're going for 4 reps, we're going for 5 reps. So if we're going for 5 reps and that 5th rep's at 0.27, and that's where they normally fail, that's where they'll stop. So if it's only like if they go from a 5-0 to a 3-3 to a 2-7 and supposed to get 5, they'll stop. And so it allows us to know where we are, where we have a chance to fail at. And I know if I mentally don't think I can get the 4th rep, and I'm supposed to get 5, but I'm at rep 3 and I see a 3-1, I know I can at least get 1 more. I may not get to 5, but I can at least get 1 more rep. So they need to use the velocity-based training as a tool to help them know or teach their athletes mentally that they can actually get another rep out of it. And when these people are using the velocity-based training as an overall tool, some of the athletes that they don't want to work hard that day, and if they fall below that certain percentage, they'll move the bar intentionally slow so they can get out of that working set. So, and the third thing I see is people are, with the velocity stuff being so new and starting to become more mainstream, people are using it on everything, curls, lunges. It don't need to be on everything. It's mainly particular for your main barbell lifts. And so curls don't need to be tracked. It's just your main core barbell lifts that need to be tracked. Your squat, I don't track our bench with it. I just mainly track our squat because it helps us figure out that squat ratio to where I know if this kid squats 1.7 times his body weight at 6 meters per second. I know people hear me say 6 meters per second. It's just, I know whatever was a 5, eventually with training will become that 6. So if a kid starts squatting and he squats 315 at a 5-0, by the end of the month, he's squatting at 315 at a 6-5 or 6-3. And the other days I'm trying to press down and keep that bar speed a little slower. But through that month, he may move 315 at a 6-3, take 315, 6-3, divided by the kid's body weight. If it's a 1.7 times body weight squat at that weight, he'll run a 4.7 40-yard dash. Or the girls, I'm still trying to regulate, trying to figure out what their ratio is. Their mentality and their dog mentality is not always like the guys are, prove you wrong. So the ratio sometimes don't fit the female population as much as it does the male population. So anyway, hope you got some information out of this. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at info@explosivemechanics. You can message me on Instagram, Explosive Mechanics, or Twitter, ExplosiveMEC. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.